So earlier I was mentioning that it looks like divorce rates are going high, are going up in the country, and I just want to understand what your observation is since you go to court.
Yeah, I would say right now divorce rates are very high. Recently, I heard that about 12% of Ghanaians are divorced, and I would say in a Christian society like Ghana, that is very high. And in a society that really recognizes the importance of marriage, I would say that is high.
All right. So what factors do you think are contributing to the increased rate of divorce?
Okay, so I would say one main thing is access to legal education. Right now, there's access to information, there's access to education, unlike back in the days where it was difficult to access information. Most people were going through hard times in their divorce, but there was nowhere to turn to. But now that has changed. Now there's education everywhere. You know that you can engage a lawyer. You can engage a lawyer who can assist you go through a divorce.
Okay. So if you're looking at a lawyer to guide you going through a divorce, what are the steps? What steps will you go through? If one is considering divorce.
So if you are considering divorce, obviously you have to go and see your lawyer. Your lawyer would ask you questions. You have a client conference with the client. So you discuss, you have to let the lawyer know the reasons why you want to divorce, because that's very key. A court of law will not dissolve a marriage where it is of the opinion that the marriage hasn't broken down beyond reconciliation. So that's very key. You have to know the reasons why you want to divorce. Then if the lawyer is of the view that you have a good course of action, then you can go ahead and then start the process by drafting a petition. Yeah, so you have to engage the lawyer formally. You have to go to sign an engagement letter where you know your legal fees to be paid and then the course of action to follow.
Okay. How do the courts in Ghana deal with divorce? Is it that once we go with our story, I want a divorce and I have a lawyer, does that solve the problem?
No, it doesn't. So as I mentioned earlier, you have to show that the marriage has broken down beyond reconciliation. That's the only ground on which a court of law would dissolve a marriage. Even so, the courts may also give you the opportunity to try settlement. During the divorce proceedings, you may be given opportunity to engage in settlement. But then I would say that the courts are reluctant to immediately dissolve a marriage. That's because of the provisions in the Matrimonial Causes Act.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in a case where two parties are seeking divorce and there's property, how is that distributed?
So first, the courts of law resort to the principle of equitable distribution. So with this, the courts would consider the needs of the parties. The courts will consider the financial contributions that were used in acquiring the properties. The courts will also consider the duration of the marriage.
Alimony and then maintenance. How does the court deal with alimony?
The courts, so as the factors as I mentioned earlier, the court also relies on some of these factors, the earning capacities of the parties, to determine which party should get what. Yes. So with that, the court may also ask the parties to file an affidavit of means, which is a full financial disclosure of their
what they have, what
yes,
they own.
what they earn, their expenditure, and all of that. So with that, the court will determine how much should go to which party.
Wow. In cases where there are kids involved, how do they deal with this? Custody issues, how do they deal with all these issues? Does the court is it easy for that to be determined in the court?
I would say it's not easy because divorce generally is not easy. But then the court makes determination as to the custody of the child, also makes determination as to right of access to the child, and also for maintenance out of the properties of the marriage. But then with that, the courts would consider, when it comes to custody, the courts consider certain factors such as the age and then the gender of the child. So ordinarily, a young female child is given to the mother to be taken care of, because a daughter needs the mother. And if it's a young child, obviously the young child needs the mother. But then where the character of the mother is impeached, then for that one, the father will be given custody. Also, the court looks at the jurisdiction of the party, maybe the other parties outside Ghana. Having to move the child from one jurisdiction to the other might be a problem. So the child will be given custody. Maybe the parents in one jurisdiction where the child was raised would be given custody of the child. Also, the court considers siblings. So where maybe there are about 4 children living with the mother, the court would not necessarily split them and then give maybe 2 children to the father and then 2. They are usually made to grow up together, so custody will be given to one parent.
Wow. Yeah. So it looks like children are really affected when it comes to divorce.
Yes, they are affected. It's often said that where 2 elephants fight is the grass that suffers. And then in this case, the children would be the grass. So they really suffer a lot. They suffer a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does, divorce affect the parties? Does it affect the women differently? Does it affect the men differently?
Generally, I would say it affects them the same way.
Okay.
Because these are 2 individuals that were once in love, they grew up together, they've lived for some time together, and then now they are attached. But now you have to split them up in terms of their finances, in terms of emotionally, in terms of physically and all of that. They are going to be split up. So definitely there will be some scars, there will be hurts, there will be emotional damage, there will be anxiety, there will be frustration, anger, and all of that.
So in cases where, let's say we've been to court, finally we are divorced, is there any way that the court makes room for some sort of emotional, psychological support? Are there such, or is we have to rely on society for this support?
For that support, unfortunately, the courts don't offer anything. Once the decree is given, that's it. You go your separate ways and then you are done with the courts. The only kind of support you can get is maybe from church or from your family or from other societal groups that offer such kind of support. But aside that, our society doesn't really do that.